We're happy to welcome our viewers to the ANN7 TNA Conversations. It's a unique interface between the government and the stakeholders. Now, this show aims to bring the who's who in power structures face to face with the people they are accountable to. The inaugural episode of the series coincides with the kickoff of a 3-day-long service delivery expo hosted by the Free State government. This expo provides a platform for government and the people of the Free State to take stock of what the administration has achieved since 2009. It will also provide an opportunity to analyse the challenges that lie ahead. 8 years ago, the provincial government, led by Premier Ace Magashule, had launched Operation Hlasela, aimed at fast-tracking service delivery. Now, TNA Conversations are brought to you in partnership with ANN7. We get you the proceedings from Bloemfontein, where Premier Ace Magashule and his exco will provide account of the work that they've done.
The lion, cheetah route, flamingo route, eagle route and springbok route presents the districts of the various provinces. And this department does not only look after tourism, but it looks after everything from radical economic transformation, environmental affairs, which talks to EIAs to support progressive economic transformation, and it talks to other type of forms and shapes of our NDP through economic job creation, through small business development. So today really what we will be showcasing is each part of our department and its entities, which is also the Free State Development Corporation, the Free State Gambling, Liquor and Tourism Authority and the Special Economic Zone. So we will encompass all of that together with strategic partners. Today we have in our stall Coca-Cola and something exciting and new that's going to happen over the next 6 months, which is a partnership of a traditional white-owned company in the Free State that is prepared to relinquish some of its ownership to local rural enterprises in the province and really empower them in management and control of those entities.
Well, still with me here in studio is ANN7 Special Projects Editor Cecilia Russell and Isabel Schmidt from Statistics South Africa. Good morning to you, ladies. Thank you so much for staying with me here. Now, just going deeper into the statistics that Isabel gave us earlier on, let's just start with the issue of sanitation. Now, you mentioned that sanitation provision has actually improved in the Free State province. So just, Cecilia, just to talk to us about that, knowing that there were some issues there in the province.
Yes, I think there was it was one that had the highest level of pit toilets and communal toilets and that kind of thing. And so this is a human dignity a matter which I think is really important to be addressed. Also, the fewer people that have to use communal toilets, it means it's safer. If you've got your toilet at home, your children go to the toilet safely and in a dignified manner. You're able to deal with that. Very often you hear about communal toilets being an area where there's crime and women are raped and children abused, etc., etc. So it's really an important dignity thing. So I think that statistic is really heartening to see it, and I hope it grows from there too.
To higher levels.
Yes.
Now, Isabel, you mentioned that electricity provision had increased by approximately, I think, 80%, according to that household survey. Were there any comments about people that perhaps still use illegal electricity connections? Because as people, get put onto the grid, it becomes a concern for the municipality. Will they be able to keep up with the bills? Are people going to be stealing power, connecting illegally? Were things like that also mentioned?
I just want to reiterate that it's an improvement from 85 to 88%.
Thank you for that.
Connectivity, but that's an important figure because remember we have population growth between 2002 and 2016. It means that connectivity not just kept up with population growth, but it also started to close the gap of a lack of service delivery in that area. So in terms of illegal connections, we actually tried to ask a question and try to link connectivity to the mains to whether it's to Eskom or not. However, we find that our respondents are very evasive, and it's unlikely that we are going to reliably pick that figure up, but it does exist. I think it's a great concern for Eskom and the municipalities who deliver this service.
Well, at least they do try to get the information. And Cecilia, just talking about illegal connections, I mean, we do that, for example, children playing around in the rural areas, especially where there aren't parks or official play areas, they tend to be exposed to these cables that are just hanging loosely on the ground, and when it rains especially, it can be problematic.
Yes, yes, I think that Eskom has been working very hard to stop illegal connections and run quite huge campaigns to explain the dangers of it. However, you know, I think that it still remains a problem, and so alternate energies might be a way to alleviate that, because then you're not necessarily just reliant on electricity on the grid, and it becomes perhaps affordable in low cost housing developments. I don't know, here in Alex, if you drive past, every single household has got solar geysers and what have you. So those kinds of things will also help alleviate that kind of criminality. But it is very good that, you know, people have access to electricity. Some methods of of cooking with stoves, primer stoves and things like that can be dangerous and can lead to people having fumes in their homes and that kind of thing. So I think that that's an improvement.
Isabel, you mentioned that you do sometimes have workshops in the various communities. Are the workshops with the leaders? Are the workshops with the community members? Just talk us through what exactly those workshops entail and what the purpose is.
You know, to date, what we've tried to do is bring our dissemination activities down to district level. And so what we would typically do is, in a district, we would organize an event where people would be invited to come and attend, and we will showcase our products as well as disseminate the statistics. And it's especially relevant when we conduct a census or the community survey, which provides data at the lower level of geography, and where we can literally give people statistics about their community, their municipality. A survey like the General Household Survey, which is done annually, unfortunately only provides data down to provincial level, and that's the limitation. And so it's usually when we have these large-scale surveys and the census that we can really disseminate at local level.
Well, let's just toss back to some of the interviews that our reporter Kelvin Ongmu, who was on the ground in Bloemfontein, carried out with some HODs. We do apologize. It seems we're having a bit of a technical issue playing back that clip. Just continuing on this conversation, just moving our focus a bit to water. You mentioned that the supply of water as a service delivery topic actually decreased. Were there any reasons or that you got from the household surveys as to why they say their services decreased?
I think when we look at the data that we collect, it appears as if it's the increase in the frequency of interruptions that last 2 days or longer, which has influenced that level of satisfaction with water services. We also see about 16% who feel the water smells badly and it's not clear. So certainly there are communities where the actual physical quality of the water seems to be a problem.
And then with the quality of water especially, do you find that perhaps are there some residents who say that they perhaps feel like they would rather maybe put up their own tank in their yard and collect water themselves from the rain? Do they feel like it's probably better to go back to the borehole system as opposed to what's been provided currently?
Unfortunately, those questions were not included in the survey, and I think more of the qualitative information may feed into that. What are people's response to this? And also, I think the issues around sustainability are very, very important. We are a country with water scarce resources. We don't have enough water. And as our population grows, we increasingly will not have enough water. So rainwater harvesting makes a lot of sense, regardless of what the quality of the municipal water is that you receive.
Well, Isabel, let me just hold that thought there before I give Cecilia an opportunity. The inaugural ANN7 TNA Conversation gets underway in Bloemfontein. My colleague Cindy Mabe has an eminent panel with her. It's over to you, Cindy.
Good morning to all our viewers and especially the live audience we have here in the Free State, the capital city, Bloemfontein, Mangaung, as part of the Free State Provincial Government Service Delivery Expo, looking at service delivery excellence. And it is my great pleasure to invite you all to join us on this discussion. On social media, it's hashtag TNA Convo, hashtag TNA Convo. And this is part of the conversations that we'll be having around holding governments accountable and primarily focusing on the successes and the challenges of the Free State Provincial Government. And joining me on the panel is His Excellency the Premier, Ace Magashule. We have MEC for Police, Roads and Transport, Mr. Sam Mashinini, and Dr. Benjamin Malikwane. He is the MEC for Economics, Small Business, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. We have Mayor Mathabo Lieto, who is Sports, Arts and Culture and Recreation MEC. And Mngoni Zondo is a top medical student out of 59 who are representing the country in China. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please give them a warm round of applause. Let's just start with you, Your Excellency, Mr. Premier, in the sense of operation, the operation that you introduced in 2009 around creating a better quality of life for people. How has that fared in your view?
Well, I'm sure we have done well because Operation Hlasela is about integration of various departments, trying to address the triple challenges of unemployment, inequalities, as well as poverty. And within that framework, in terms of our election manifesto, 2009, we decided that the apex priorities, education, followed by health, sustainable creation of sustainable jobs, fighting crime, and making sure that we have a friendly relationship with our people. And I'm sure we have achieved all this. And today we are showcasing the fact that since 2009 until today, the year of Oliver Tambo, we have thus far as the province of the Free State within the context of South Africa delivered quality services to our people. And I think we're very happy.
And the audience can verify those or even challenge those statistics or success reports that the Premier has given us. It is interactive. We'll encourage you to also write your questions. Just to go to you, Mr. Mashinini, the issue around safety and security, the capacity around the police to curb crime, and also the, I suppose, behavior of motorists on the road. It is leading up to the silly season. What do you have in plan?
Thank you very much, Cindy. The first point that I want to indicate is that, you know, one of the areas that will make the Free State to improve economically is to make sure that the province is safe. And I can safely say that Free State, amongst the 9 provinces in the country, is leading in terms of the crime reduction in the Free State. Yes, of course, there are still those areas that are sticky areas in terms of the crime that we are busy dealing with. And on that note, I want to congratulate the outgoing provincial commissioner and the incoming acting provincial commissioner that will be coming there. But secondly, on the issue of the roads, once again there, we have outsmart almost all, if that is the correct word, all the provinces reduced. You take the Easter weekend statistics, they will show you that Free State has been the #1 province to deal with reducing the road crashes on the road. So we are on the right track. And the slogan of the province is that Rea Hlasela. And I think we must keep that trend.
And I think it's something that is not necessarily celebrated, and that's why we're here. From you, Dr. Malikwane, in terms of economics, especially small business, when we look at that being a multiplier of employment, what kind of interventions have there been in absorbing, especially unemployed graduates?
Let me thank you for the question. Maybe to start off, it's important for everyone to understand the role that we play as a department. And we are tasked to coordinate and even to monitor compliance on a very interesting sector, which is the economy. Now, there could be so many different interpretations of what the economy is or what is it about. And one of the most important aspects related to economic development is the space within which individuals play, where you find, on a simple basis, relationships between people of late have to make economic sense. And the extent to which provincial government departments operate or go about executing their various functions, economic development imperatives have to be taken stock of. The same applies to municipalities. Now, when you take different departments, as it were, for example, where you've made an example of what is it that we do to ensure that there is absorption of unemployed graduates, you would appreciate their origin, that they originate from the position which we occupy, where we are champions of this country when it comes to education. There's quite a hell of a lot of those graduates that are in various countries in the world. You'll hear much about it as the relevant MEC comes to talk about that. But the efforts that we put in ensuring that in our employment stakes, we prioritize unemployed graduates, most of whom may be our bursary holders, and all the efforts are made to ensure that they get into mainstream employment for them to come and make meaningful contribution in the economy.
All right, I appreciate that. And talking about economic intelligence and how we utilize sports, arts, and culture and recreation, Melieto, in especially distressed environments where they're still marginalized, there isn't adequate resources. If you were to look at your portfolio and where the gaps are, how would you identify those?
No, thanks very much for the opportunity. The department that I'm given a responsibility to lead is responsible for sport, arts, culture, and recreation. And you would know that in the main, we focus on sport development and infrastructure development in the province, but also to make sure that we create opportunities for the artists to showcase their talent and be able to compete globally. Now, this department, led by the Honorable Premier, has ensured that in the province there are sport facilities that has been built. We have your Dr. Mulemela Stadium, we have your stadiums in Fezle Dabi, we have stadiums in Kutwanong and many other areas. So you would know that if there are no sports facilities, there's no way that the people of the Free State or the sport people of the Free State can get an opportunity or a space to showcase their talent so that they're able to. That's why today we have your Wade van Niekerk from the Free State, because he was using one of our facilities here in Bloemfontein called the Free State Sports Science Institute. But we also have many other programs of sport. We have a school sport where we ensure that we develop talent at a young age, but also to make sure that school children exercise, get involved in sport for them to be able to be brighter, because the reason why Free State is always being number one on education or matric results, we're also contributing as the department, because kids who are not exercising, I don't think their bodies are able to be healthy for them to be able to excel academically. We also have community sport programs in the province where we allow those who are out of school to also participate in sport, because remember, young people are talented in terms of sport programs. We also have, for the second year now, organized the OR Tambo Marathon to give athletes of the Free State, athletes of South Africa and the world to come and compete. But in a nutshell, the programs that we are organizing as the department also promotes tourism in the province, because remember, when there are big sport activities happening in the province, there are people who come to the province. If there are arts programs that are happening, like your Makufe, people come to Bloemfontein and your hospitality area, the economy gets stimulated. So in a nutshell, we are not just doing development in terms of sport and art, but we're also contributing to the economy of the province the economy of South Africa, because if those activities are happening, it means there's a lot of value chain that is happening in the province. So we have done a lot, led by Dr. Premier Ace Magashule.
Indeed, I mean, Makufe is a flagship program and a calendar event that brings a lot of revelers to the Free State. Thank you for that, Melieto. And should I say Dr. Zondo in advance, top achieving medical student representing the country in China out of 59 other students. Just how your life changed in terms of the bursary and opportunity that was provided by the Free State provincial government.
Well, perhaps my story is not the same as anybody else's because, well, to get to where I am, I first had to fail a lot at a whole lot of things and disappoint quite a number of things. And then, surprisingly enough, the Free State government just said that, you know what, this is just a name, but we are going to take an opportunity on this person. So they were able to actually take me out of, well, possibly sudden suicide, amongst a few other things, and just the whole disappointment that was lingering within me and the people that I cared about. And they took me out of that, and then they gave me the opportunity to actually get to China and start to do something more effective. Now, I think I speak on behalf of all of the students. Most of us there would never, ever, ever dream of getting on an airplane. I'm not talking about now getting out of the country. So now, this opportunity has been given, and then once we are there, for me personally, I said this before we left, I'm only going there to take information and bring it back. And that's basically still what I'm striving to do. So in terms of how it changed my life, I think everything has changed. I talk differently, I behave differently. Sometimes I even dress differently. I'm actually a bit more conscious about what I do and what I say and who I say, like who I keep company with. So now I think that it is actually improving us on a very large scale. And I'm still appreciative of it, and I know that all of the students appreciate the opportunity. It's not everyone that gets to actually do this, especially if we look at it on an international scale. No other country at my school is paying for their students. So I'm still very, very thankful for this.
Wow, Dr. Zondo, in advance, how does that make you feel, Premier, the impact that you have made? And it's not just a statistic. These are real stories, real lives of people that are now going to also impact their families differently.
Well, it makes me feel that the future is bright. We are indeed building the nation. We are indeed building a non-racial society. There's no color. We don't judge people because of their color. Black and white in this province. In South Africa, we are working together, and I think we need to build more. When young people are, because the most important investment is in education, because by the year 2020, the Free State will be completely different, and then we'll be able to address even those challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequalities. It makes me feel good, and I'm happy when I hear young people involved in education, because that's the future. Nobody can take it away from you. That's why the young people are saying all the time that
And also, speaking of opportunities, it's just getting that break, I suppose, as you're saying, for young people to be able to explore and optimize their own opportunities. Mr. Mashinini, the reservists that we hear in terms of the police and job creation in that space, are there adequate opportunities? Because unfortunately, we've come to rely on government for employment as opposed to the private sector being more active.
Cindy, let me get into that space. If you don't prepare your future and make sure that young people get into the mainstream of the economy, your future as the country or the province is going to be bleak. What we have done in the department, we said, look, you had young people that are exiting, that are going through the matric. How do you make sure that you prepare those that will not be furthering their studies? How do you make sure that they are having the necessary tools? Because when you enter the mainstream of the economy, you must have the necessary tools. Now, the department comes in and said, what program can we put in place? We then said, the first thing that you get to any company, they'll ask you, do you have the driver's license? Huh? And that becomes a prerequisite. We get into that space. Through the program of Operation Hlasela, we then said, let's train matriculants through the driver's license, through the government coffers. We gave them that particular opportunity. Yes, there are a lot and more that we should do it, but this is what we have done over this period, 2009 up to now. We said, let's get them up to speed. Secondly, we said, you know, for people to get into the mainstream of the economy, you need, how do you, because right now we talk about radical economic transformation. How do you get them into that space? We have young people that are participating in the program, which is called the Contractor Development Program in the department. And you can see that there are young people that are there. Not only young people, but including disabled people. They are part of that. So that you then put a positive impact in terms of dealing with reducing the rate of unemployment and poverty.
Yes, and also dealing with the barriers to entry. As you will know, in small business, the list of compliance that you have to abide by can also be a deterrent as to why people don't start businesses. So Dr. Malokwane, in your view, how has your department been able to deal with that particular challenge?
Look, barriers to entry for all those that are called or those that decide to get into business and the few that manage to break through or to make it. There is always this expectation that government needs to make that intervention in the main financially, which is what everyone would require to kickstart or to get into the mainstream business. As a department, we do not necessarily do direct funding as an intervention for businesses, but we do give requisite support in terms of identification of those that have the potential to develop into businesses that would flourish with maybe some financial injections, which in the main are done from our side by the Free State Development Corporation, based on the agreement that we have with them as the implementing agent regarding funding, where they would do some unsecured loans or some micro-lending with unsecured loans, and some of those loan schemes where those businesses would be expected to repay. So that's how it's being done. And for those who have bankable business plans, they are handheld and matched to either the NEF or CIFA, and if they are fortunate, to the Industrial Development Corporation, for them to be funded, or those who individually can go to commercial banks to go and raise funding from there.
All right, we're going to leave it here for now, but of course the third segment of our engagement here will be questions and answers from the floor, but we have to take a break, and thanks so much for staying with us. We're here at the Free State Provincial Government as part of the Service Delivery Expo, brought to you by TNA and ANN7, and also sponsored by JIC. Do stay with us. We're back after this.